Welcome to NarrativeNook audio tales where enchanted stories come to life. If you enjoy our stories, please subscribe, like and share to support our channel. Enjoy listening.
Willow chuckled. Maybe Mrs. Lloyd wants you to become more mature and elegant. Shirley smiled. I know, so I comply. Have you set a date for your wedding? It's all set in May, and it will be held on an island. I never thought I'd get married before you. Shirley remembered when they met at the base, she was still a novice in relationships. I never thought you'd become the vice president's wife. But this status suits you. You exude a remarkable grace that can handle any occasion. Willow praised her. Shirley felt a bit embarrassed by the compliments and said humbly, "Don't keep praising me. I might get carried away." Willow genuinely admired Shirley's demeanor. The two moved on to discuss dresses. In this regard, Shirley often sought advice from Willow as she considered Willow to have an excellent sense of fashion, which was also a fact. So, they discussed wedding dress styles and colors. A delightful afternoon unfolded, and the two chatted until it was dusk. However, they didn't plan to have dinner together that night due to prior commitments. As they laughed and exited the restaurant, two men who had been sitting there for a while noticed them and decided to introduce themselves. Ladies, can we get to know each other? The two men directly blocked their path. Shirley smiled faintly. Sorry. It's not convenient. Miss, please. Just leave a phone number. Maybe we can grab coffee sometime and be friends. We're not bad people. These men thought highly of themselves and tried their luck with the pretty girls they saw. Unbeknownst to them, two tall bodyguards approached from the entrance. We said it's not convenient. Please step aside, Willow said in a cold tone. The men were reluctant to give up. They perceived these women as being of high status and were audacious enough to try and get acquainted. Miss, one of the men was about to speak again when suddenly, their arms were roughly grabbed, and they were pulled a few steps away. When they turned around, they were dumbfounded. How did four tall and burly bodyguards suddenly appear behind them? Are you two okay, Miss Presgrave? The bodyguards asked with concern. We're fine, Willow replied while taking Shirley's hand and walking away. The two men gawked as they watched the bodyguards escort the women and realized they weren't qualified to get to know them. Moreover, they noticed a row of bodyguards outside the restaurant's door disappearing as the women left. In an instant, the two men were drenched in cold sweat. Just what kind of background did these women have? After parting ways, Shirley received a call from Zacharias, who asked her to wait for him at the White House. He was in a meeting and would like to return home with her in the evening. Shirley had the bodyguards escort her to the White House. After strict inspections, her car stopped at the entrance. Shirley got out of the car. She was ready to go inside and wait for a while. Suddenly, she heard a car pulling into the adjacent parking spot. She couldn't help but look up, and when she saw a familiar figure, she froze for a few seconds. It was Cole. She was incredibly surprised. Was Cole working here again? Cole also spotted her and exclaimed, Shirley, it's really you. He hadn't expected to see her here either. Cole, what a coincidence. Shirley greeted him with a smile. It's been a while. I heard you're getting married. Congratulations, Cole said with a composed demeanor. As a former special agent, his actions were as sharp and concise as his personality. Thank you. Are you working here again? Shirley asked. I'm just here for a meeting, I'll leave in 3 days, he replied. He had come to accept a mission. Shirley smiled. She had once harbored feelings for Cole. It was a naive fondness, but now she realized time had transformed those emotions into friendship. She was not coy. She faced everything straightforwardly. Even when encountering Cole, she hoped for a sincere conversation and greeting. At the entrance of the White House, a figure in a suit descended slowly. His pupils slightly widened for a few seconds when he saw the pair chatting in the parking lot. Why was Cole here? And why was Shirley talking with him? The only man who could make Zacharias jealous was probably Cole. Cole was pressed for time. After glancing at his watch, he said to Shirley, "Shirley, congratulations again. I wish you happiness." Shirley pursed her lips and accepted his wishes. "Thank you. I wish you success in your work as well." As Cole turned away, he felt a strong sense of oppression emanating from the man nearby instantly. His heart tightened slightly as he went to greet Zacharias. "Mr. Flintstone." "Hello." Zacharias smiled and nodded gracefully. Cole nodded back and then headed toward the entrance of the White House. Shirley just realized Zacharias was there. Her gaze met his, and as he approached, she noticed that he seemed a bit jealous as he narrowed his eyes. She reached out and embraced his waist. "Are you jealous?" Zacharias was restraining himself. He held her waist firmly and insisted, "Not at all. I know that you love me." Shirley chuckled. Being able to look at things from a different perspective is a good habit. "Of course. I've always been someone who looks at things from a third-party perspective," Zacharias said. It was his approach that made him calm and rational. Although he claimed not to be jealous, his hand on her waist proved otherwise. When the bodyguards approached to open the car door, he said, "Enter in 10 minutes." The bodyguard understood immediately. Shirley widened her beautiful eyes as she was pushed into the car by the man. She had underestimated his jealousy. As soon as the man got into the car, he leaned in for a kiss, as if he was trying to claim something. She was left feeling weak in his arms, and it took her a while to regain her senses. It seemed that Zacharias' jealousy was indeed substantial. After the kiss, Zacharias didn't seem to be that jealous anymore. Resting his forehead against hers, he gave her another peck on the lips and said, "Let's go home." Throughout the journey, Shirley felt embarrassed and pretended to sleep in his embrace. The bodyguard was well aware of what had happened in the car. Back at the Flintstone residence, he carried her bag while she walked in casually. Then, he hung up her bag and his suit. "I've asked the housekeeper not to come tonight. We'll make dinner ourselves." Shirley agreed. "Sounds good." Sometimes, enjoying each other's company in their own world was more comfortable than being served by others. "Why did Cole come?" Zacharias couldn't help but ask. "He seems to be here to accept a mission, but I didn't ask for specifics," Shirley replied before reaching out to hug his neck. "Mr. Flintstone, you're not still jealous, are you? What do you think?" He countered, while recalling how this girl had once pursued Cole. It made him feel uneasy. Shirley smiled and coaxed him. "What should I do so you won't be jealous then?" "You'll be on top tonight," Zacharias stated his demand. She huffed in annoyance while pounding his chest lightly. "You're so annoying." He held her hand while looking at her charmingly irritated expression. He pulled her closer before planting a kiss. "Consider it a way to coax me." "But I'm hungry." Shirley blushed slightly. "All right. I'll cook for you right away. Wait for me." Zacharias chuckled and kissed her forehead before rolling up his sleeves and heading to the kitchen. Shirley watched his sturdy and tall figure and felt a surge of sweet happiness in her heart. Perhaps this was the attraction and appreciation they held for each other. Inside the presidential suite of the Manson Hotel, Ezekiel had just finished a video conference. He reached for a bottle of red wine, and his thoughts drifted to the girl from last night when he saw the bottle. If he recalled correctly, the man from last night had called her Harmony Mayo. He poured himself a glass of wine. His life revolved around work and indulgence. It was simple yet structured. He picked up his tablet and casually entered the name Harmony Mayo in the search bar. The search engine immediately suggested a name, Harmony Mayo. Due to Harmony's current popularity as an artist, her name was the first recommendation in the search bar. Ezekiel clicked on the name and soon found numerous photos of her, along with a brief biography. He finished reading her profile with interest and then noticed her latest movie. He picked up the remote control and used voice search to find her film. An Asian spy film appeared. Ezekiel wasn't a movie person, anything created by others lacked appeal to him. Moreover, he owned an international film and television production company. His interest lay in investment and not appreciation. His slender fingers were propped against his chin, and his gaze was fixed on the screen. The girl who appeared in the first shot was graceful and alluring in the dim light. Her hips were swaying, and there was a smile on her lips. Her radiance captivated his heart instantly. He hadn't expected her to be young yet with such decent acting skills. She portrayed the demeanor of a 17 or 18-year-old girl from Asia so perfectly. Ezekiel continued to watch the movie. When he saw a scene where a lecherous old man was leering at her, his pupils involuntarily narrowed. It felt like he was suddenly immersed in the film. He was genuinely worried that something might happen to this girl. This was Harmony's new movie, where she played a secret agent. Her acting skills were exceptional, and she captivated the hearts of her fans with every the movie a hit and her even more popular. Whenever the names of emerging young actresses were mentioned, Harmony's name and scenes were always highlighted. It won her a large number of both male and female fans. Ezekiel bit his thin lips while continuing to watch. He had been sipping wine while watching the movie for an hour and a half, unknowingly. He was genuinely impressed with her performance in the movie and her natural yet skilled acting. Harmony Mayo, he murmured her name. She had seemingly sparked even more interest within him. Little did anyone know, the newly famous Harmony was about to face a sudden twist in her love life. At this moment, she was touching a repaired gemstone necklace that was around her neck and was preparing to shoot an advertisement. She was unaware that the gemstone in her hand would lead her life in a different direction. On Christmas Eve, the media solemnly announced a piece of happy news: Zacharias' wedding. Congratulatory words poured in from the entire media network. However, the details of the wedding were shrouded in secrecy. Even though some media outlets had gathered information about the wedding venue, they dared not disclose it. The wedding ceremony at the Royal Hotel was grand and romantic. Zacharias wore a white suit today, a departure from the usual black attire he wore. He exuded exceptional handsomeness while emitting an air of happiness throughout the event. Shirley, who was clad in a white wedding gown, held her beloved's hand and took each step toward the sacred halls of marriage. Below the stage, there were congratulations and well wishes from various attendees. Two unwavering I do's resonated before drawing applause from the audience. Upon seeing them embrace each other, both their parents could deeply feel and empathize with the love between the couple. Shirley didn't disappoint her mother. She stood by Zacharias' side with elegance and grace while exuding an aura that was no less impressive. As they stood together on the stage with their hands clasped, they were equals in status and united in soul. This powerful union of marriage became even more pleasing to the eyes. At the table below, Jared was surrounded by young people himself, his wife, his younger sister and her husband, Ezekiel, and the two children from the president's family. The guys were handsome and tall, while the girls were stunning and poised. The wedding continued until 9:00 p.m. After a day as a bride, Shirley felt that her feet were red and sore. She was naturally not someone suited to wearing high heels, so even custom-made high heels would leave her feet swollen after prolonged wear. At night, Zacharias brought her back to their residence and personally prepared a basin of hot water for her to soak her feet. She had just removed her makeup. Her long hair was cascading down, and her bare face was emitting a pure radiance. It was hard for anyone to imagine her fierceness when facing adversaries and the valor that ran deep within her. Yet, in front of Zacharias, Shirley simply wanted to be a woman cherished by him alone. Her myriad charms were meant for his eyes only. Zacharias squatted in front of her with his chin resting in his hand. His gaze was fixed on her for who knew how long. The smile on his lips seemed to indicate that he had obtained the world's most precious treasure. It was a genuine sense of pride and happiness from the bottom of his heart. Shirley was just thinking about her performance at the wedding when she accidentally caught her man staring at her. She immediately blushed and reached up to touch her face while asking, "Is there something on my face?" He stood up with a smile, cupped her face, and kissed her gently. "You look beautiful." She smiled and reached out her arms to him. "Carry me to our room." "Roger, my princess." The man responded huskily before lifting her. He first held her in his arms and then wiped her feet before carrying her upstairs to their room. Shirley nestled in his embrace. Tonight was the first time they were making love as husband and wife. A night of boundless passion ensued. The following day, Shirley picked up her phone to check the news. There were congratulatory messages everywhere for them. Despite it being from the media and public, they made her feel truly happy. At the hotel, after representing his father at the wedding banquet and resting for 3 days, Ezekiel decided to move on to the next destination, that international fashion event. He had arranged meetings with several investors in that country. He bid farewell to both the Presgrave family and the Lloyd family before boarding his private jet. Belrose, known as the global fashion capital, was the hub for all things stylish. Big brands and the mainstream fashion industry converged here. Celebrities and fashion icons worldwide preferred to shoot advertisements here to showcase their significance. Harmony was scheduled to shoot an advertisement here. After she escaped back to the country last time, the advertisers weren't pleased and demanded that she shoot several additional advertisements for free. She had no other choice but to focus diligently on her work. Each time she opened her phone, she would see a new round of affectionate photos from her ex-boyfriend, but her emotions didn't fluctuate as much anymore. This incident made her realize that women must have careers and be independent. She had acting skills and earning capacity, and her career was on the rise. What did she need a man for? She broke free from the mentality of love and devoted herself wholeheartedly to making her career a success. Moreover, she declared that she would never fall in love again in this lifetime. She didn't want to have anything to do with men anymore. Harmony's advertisement had been shot 2 days ago. As she was endorsing a series of products from an international luxury jewelry brand, the advertisement's effects were immediate and remarkable. In just 3 days, her advertisement was displayed on the roadside's giant screens as a public broadcast. The languid-themed advertisement video featuring Harmony was extremely eye-catching. The gemstone necklace around her neck added a touch of elegance to her appearance. It was rare to see someone wearing gemstones with such sophistication. Novel drama. Harmony achieved what she aimed for. There was a unique quality about her that enhanced the appeal of the gemstone necklace. At this moment, 4 black SUVs came to a halt at a traffic light. Due to a pedestrian suddenly appearing ahead, the driver had to hit the brakes immediately. This startled the man resting against the seat in the back. He opened his eyes and heard the apologies from the driver. "I'm sorry, Mr. Weiss." Ezekiel felt slightly annoyed at being awakened, but at that moment, the giant screen outside the window caught his attention. He looked up, and his pupils suddenly contracted as he watched the graceful and alluring girl on the screen. She was lounging on the couch like a lazy cat. Her beautiful and mesmerizing collarbone was adorned with a sparkling green gemstone, which enhanced the smoothness of her skin. He couldn't help but desire to place a kiss upon it. Ezekiel murmured softly, "It's her." Afterward, a smile tugged at the corners of his lips. Was the world this small? How was it that he could see her at first sight, even in this foreign country? However, this sensation brought a pleasant feeling to his heart, and even the annoyance of being awakened disappeared. Just then, the car was about to move forward. As the car was going past the screen, Ezekiel suddenly spoke up. "Reverse the car by 100 meters, then turn around and stop. I want to rest here." The bodyguard had noticed Ezekiel lost in thought while staring at the screen earlier, so he complied with Ezekiel's request by stopping the car at the best viewing distance from the screen. He noticed that the previous advertisement had finished playing and the screen was now playing another one, but surprisingly, he had the patience to sit here and wait for Harmony's advertisement. Sure enough, Harmony's smooth and alluring advertisement played 2 minutes later. Ezekiel watched it attentively while admiring her gaze, her smile, and even the strands of her hair in the video that emanated an appealing aura. Ezekiel rested his chin on his hand while watching for more than 10 minutes. After watching the footage several times, he finally instructed the bodyguard to drive the car back to the hotel. He wondered if he could meet her here. Strangely, he found himself looking forward to it. Ezekiel never idolized celebrities, nor did he feel anything for any celebrity, but strangely, this girl managed to stir up intense curiosity. Harmony was certainly unaware that her trip back to the country would unveil a major fan unexpectedly. At that moment, she was packing in the hotel room when her phone rang. She paused in packing and reached out to answer the call. "Hello? Harmony, don't return home yet. I'm on my way over. I have insider information. We can get into Fashion Week, and we might even crash the red carpet." "Sarah, are you kidding me? You want me to crash the red carpet? I can't do that." Harmony rejected the idea. Even though she wanted fame, she couldn't muster the courage for such an act. "Anyway, hold off on going back. I'm boarding my flight now. If that doesn't work out, we can take a few pictures there, fix them up when we return, and still make good use of them." Harmony sighed and could only delay her return temporarily. She was exhausted from her recent advertisement shoots. Just then, she received another message on her phone. This time, it was from a fashion blogger she had previously collaborated with. "Harmony, do you know that Ruben Nagy and Catalina Martin are also heading to Fashion Week? Are you still there?" Harmony read the message and felt a pang in her chest. However, it was no surprise that they were coming. Catalina was in this industry, so she would surely attend these high-profile events. As for Ruben, he was now connected to Catalina's resources and had landed 2 international watch advertisements, so he could also make an appearance as a fashion darling. Although Harmony wasn't angry, she gripped her phone tightly and felt a sense of frustration. She was unable to return home and did not want to stay holed up in the hotel. Despite having an assistant accompanying her, she decided to go out for a stroll alone. She was fluent in Chinese, so she wouldn't have any trouble communicating. Harmony wandered casually. She hailed a cab and arrived at the streets near Fashion Week, where she could see artists from various countries coming to take photos and capture moments. She might even bump into her idols if she was lucky. She wasn't very old, she was only 24. She started acting at the age of 14. Despite quietly working in the industry for 10 years, it was only in the last couple of years that she gained fame. However, she still maintained the mindset of a newcomer in her heart. If there was a role, Harmony would take it, if not, she would live her life well. She observed a few beautiful girls striking poses for pictures. Each of them had both the figure and the face. Even if one was exceptionally beautiful here, one wouldn't feel superior. The saying that there is always someone better suited this situation perfectly. Harmony stood at 1.66 meters. She was wearing a long down jacket with a scarf and a beanie. It made her appear like a silkworm. "Oh! Over there. It's Jonah Chan." A scream rang out, and a few Asian girls could be seen running. They chased after someone while shouting that name. Upon seeing the scene, Harmony remembered that Jonah was also one of her idols. She followed the footsteps of these fans and ran in that direction as well. She transformed herself into a loyal fan. Soon, they spotted the man being surrounded by people. He was in his early 30s, but had already won the Best Actor award 2 years in a row. He was considered a perfect male artist by the entertainment industry. Harmony's gaze was full of admiration as she looked at the back of the man. She smiled. It was a joyful experience being able to meet her idol on this chilly street. It felt like life had become a bit more fulfilling. She turned around and walked aimlessly in another direction. At 18, her parents died in a car accident just when she had received the admission notice from the Film Academy. She was alone all of a sudden. In the blink of an eye, it had been 5 years. She thought she had something precious love, but it vanished like a bubble in an instant. Harmony's insight into life was that in this world, there was no one absolutely reliable, she could only rely on herself. In the evening, Sarah arrived. She had been constantly making calls and using connections. Finally, she obtained 2 entry tickets, but these were entry tickets restricted to the work area, not the red carpet area. Harmony, look. We got the tickets. We can shine on the red carpet tomorrow. I don't want to gate crash. I don't have the qualifications or the capability for it. It's like trying to fit a round peg in a square hole. I'll become a joke. Harmony resisted strongly. Sarah was her manager, and she saw Sarah as family. My dear lady, do you know how much exposure you can gain by attending the red carpet event just once? You'll not be the only one who has done it. Tons of people have, and it's a skill. You must go. There's no discussion about it, Sarah commanded firmly. At that moment, Catalina swirled her wine glass in a 5-star hotel while listening to her subordinates report. We've sent the tickets to Sarah through the channels. They will definitely go in tomorrow and also attempt to gate crash the red carpet event. That's good. I want to make Harmony lose her reputation at the red carpet event tomorrow. Catalina, do you have a plan? I'll make Harmony's popularity vanish instantly and make her fans look down on her and mock her. What right does a scheming girl like her have to be admired? Catalina, are you intentionally letting them gate crash? Not only do they need to gate crash, but I also want footage of her walking the red carpet. I'll make her look miserable and laughable. If she wants to steal my endorsement, she'll have to pay the price. Catalina spoke fiercely. Someone without background or support trying to survive in this circle should expect to be stepped on. After the subordinate left, Ruben emerged from the bathroom and circled his arms around Catalina's waist. She wrapped her arms around his neck. Ruben, do you still love Harmony? Disgust flickered in Ruben's eyes. How could I possibly love her? Back then, I was blind. I won't even spare a glance at a girl like her, who doesn't hesitate to use any means to achieve her goals in the future. Whose coattails did she manage to ride on? Do I know this big shot? Upon thinking back to the man he had encountered at the hotel the last time, he recalled a young and wealthy figure who remained an absolute stranger. Despite his many years in the industry, he had never seen the man before. It should be someone from outside the entertainment circle. Catalina thought to herself that she need not worry about those outside the entertainment circle because this circle had its own rules. Plus, there was an undeniable emphasis placed on ranking within this circle. So, artists like Harmony, who had to start from the bottom, were only fit to be trampled upon by others. Let's wait for the show. I will drag her all the way down to the Z-list. Once I'm done with her, no producers would bother hiring her. Catalina, I hope she disappears from this industry. Ruben was someone who held grudges close to his heart. Therefore, he genuinely wanted to see Harmony end up with nothing after all her efforts. In the luxurious presidential suite under the bustling night, Ezekiel stood by the floor-to-ceiling window and gazed at a nearby giant screen. Harmony's advertisement would flicker on this screen every 2 minutes. Soon, he realized he had been standing by the window and lost in thought for half an hour. The girl on the screen possessed a charm that made it seem as though he was the moth being beguiled by her flame. Her red lips in the footage reminded him of the soft and sweet lips he had kissed. It left him wanting more. The coffee in his hand had turned cold. Nonetheless, he had been so engrossed in watching the distant billboard that he hadn't even noticed. Ezekiel took a sip of the now stale coffee and felt momentarily stunned. How had he lost himself in thoughts about this girl for so long? He glanced at the bustling city center outside the window. Then, he was suddenly struck by inspiration as he picked up his phone and dialed his assistant before asking, "Look someone up for me. I want to know which hotel she's staying at." "Sure, Mr. Weiss." Ezekiel sent Harmony's name via text. He was unsure why he suddenly wanted to know more about her. If Ezekiel was just an ordinary Joe, it would be impossible for him to get this information immediately. However, since he was Ezekiel, obtaining this piece of information was as easy as pie. As long as he gave out his orders, his subordinates would handle it for him diligently and with remarkable efficiency. Sure enough, his subordinate sent him a hotel address in less than 5 minutes. In fact, they had even marked down the room number in black and white. Ezekiel curled his lips into a smile. Even though it was merely an ordinary hotel, he suddenly felt an interest in staying there for the night. He didn't even bother notifying his bodyguards as he made the call, booked the room next to Harmony's, and headed there. Then, he promptly took his car keys and drove off in his unique sports car from the underground parking lot. Harmony and Sarah were sharing a room in the hotel. They were discussing some work-related matters. Sarah was 39 years old and single. She had dedicated half her life to the entertainment industry and was now placing all her hopes for wealth and success on this artist she had single-handedly nurtured. One couldn't deny the fact that Harmony owed her success to Sarah's unwavering support and her own hard work. Harmony flipped through the news and came across another rumor about her. Some sharp-tongued influencers, in their quest for attention, dared to fabricate all sorts of baseless rumors. They claimed she secured the female lead role in that Asian drama by renting an apartment with the director for half a month. There were even rumors suggesting she accepted a wealthy individual as a sugar daddy and was being promoted because of it. These people have no boundaries in spreading lies. Harmony placed the tablet aside and felt a headache coming on. Sarah came over, glanced at the news, and snorted disdainfully. They lose nothing by spreading rumors. You're famous now, so they'll naturally target you for attention. Don't mind them. If you want to be successful in this industry, they'll have to remember that these are just sticks and stones. I need to make a call. You should rest early, Sarah said as she scrolled through her contacts. Harmony's stomach grumbled loudly. Sarah had controlled her food intake at dinner just so she could fit into the evening dress Sarah had rented for her tomorrow. Harmony didn't have the type of body that gained weight easily from eating. Frankly, she felt really uncomfortable starving herself like this. All she could think of at the moment were the pastries from the coffee shop downstairs. She licked her lips and thought greedily, I should seize the moment and have a couple of croissants. Otherwise, how am I going to endure this long night with my stomach being so uncooperative? Harmony eagerly pushed herself off the couch. She was determined to brave the scolding she would undoubtedly receive from Sarah the instant she decided to go through with her sneaky plan. She grabbed a short down jacket to cover herself. Her waist-length hair was still damp from the recent wash, giving her an unadorned look. Honestly, she seemed like a fresh-faced university student, radiating a youthful vigor with every fiber of her being. She opened the door quietly as she carefully listened to Sarah's voice in the adjacent resting area. Then, she muffled her mischievous giggles as she slipped away toward the elevator. Once she arrived at the cafe's floor, she hastily descended upon the establishment after leaving the elevator. The owner was about to close the shop, but she managed to buy the last 2 pieces of sweet treats. She intended to eat them there. Alas, she had no choice but to covertly sneak her goodies back to the hotel because the cafe was about to close. Still, she figured she might as well nibble on her pastries on the way back. She planned to finish it off once she returned to the hotel to avoid getting scolded. She pressed the button and took another big bite of her bread upon arriving at the elevator. Just then, a tall figure emerged from the hotel's front desk and sauntered toward the elevator. As the doors were about to close, the man immediately pressed the open button to prevent them from sliding shut. Harmony instinctively looked up when she saw someone else trying to enter. She couldn't help but scrutinize them out of curiosity. Nevertheless, her eyes widened in shock the second her brain registered just who that person was. How could it be him? Goodness gracious! She actually bumped into the man who found her lost gemstone in the elevator? Talk about coincidence! Even Ezekiel hadn't expected to run into her as soon as he arrived at the hotel. He stepped in gracefully with his arms crossed and smiled naturally as he greeted her. Hi. Harmony still had a big bite of bread in her mouth, which made her cheeks puffy. So, she resembled an adorable and gluttonous squirrel. Hi, she mumbled a greeting and quickly chewed on the bread in her mouth as she tried to swallow it down. Strangely, the man's deep, captivating, and beautiful eyes continued to fixate on her. When he caught sight of her nearly choking in her haste to finish her food, his lips curved slightly into a smile. It seemed as if he was doing his best not to burst into laughter. She was so enchanting in the advertisement. She looked just like a lazy elf bathed under the sunlight. Nevertheless, it seemed that she was cute and down-to-earth in reality. Harmony decided to feign ignorance. So, she leaned against the corner of the elevator, lowering her head as she continued to munch on her bread. "You don't remember me?" the man asked with a hint of amusement in his tone. She raised her head and retorted, "Do we know each other?" Ezekiel raised an eyebrow and refuted, "We don't, but we've kissed." Harmony flushed crimson, she couldn't deny that fact. To make matters even more embarrassing, it wasn't just one kiss. It was two. She kissed him first, and he returned the kiss with equal fervor. "Sir, are you mistaking me for someone else?" She decided to feign ignorance. "No. Miss Harmony Mayo, we did kiss," Ezekiel said with a huff. He had never been so disregarded before. She was surprised when he mentioned her name. "How do you know my name?" She couldn't recall ever telling him her name. "If I want to know something, I'll know it." Just as he finished speaking, the elevator chimed and slid open. She hurriedly stepped out of the confined space the minute she noticed that she had arrived at her floor. Just as she took a few steps, she discovered that the man had also followed her out. She felt flustered and was taken aback. Why did he also get off the elevator? Could he be a stalker? It didn't seem fitting for a stalker to be this handsome. "Why are you following me?" she asked, feeling panicked. Ezekiel smirked. "Is it possible that I also live on this floor?" Harmony blushed and apologized sheepishly, "I'm sorry. I misunderstood you." Fortunately, she managed to make it to her hotel room's door just then. Just adjacent to her room, the man swiped his card and intentionally fiddled with it when he caught her staring, indicating that he wasn't a stalker. He was genuinely a guest who just happened to be staying there as well. Harmony's face turned even redder. God, take me. Ever since she became a celebrity, she had become a bit jumpy. She often assumed someone was following her due to her paranoia. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." She apologized repeatedly before quickly swiping her card to enter her room. Ezekiel glanced at her with a smile before entering his room. Compared to his presidential suite, this room was small and somewhat crude. Yet, the interesting girl next door made up for everything. As Harmony entered her room, Sarah was already looking for her. The instant Sarah saw her, the woman bombarded her with questions, asking, "Where did you go? It's already so late." Then, she noticed the bread in Harmony's hand and continued in admonishment, "Didn't I tell you to eat less? The evening gown for tomorrow is XS. You probably won't fit into it after eating that. If I can't wear it, then I won't go." Harmony replied. After all, she hadn't planned on attending the red carpet event anyway. "No. You have to go. This is a rare opportunity. You are not allowed to let this golden opportunity slip your fingers," Sarah insisted sternly. "Guess who's living next door to us?" "Who?" "The man who found my gemstone back in Dansbury. He's staying next door. Isn't this such a coincidence?" Harmony started gossiping immediately. Sarah became excited. "What? It's him. Isn't he very wealthy? Why is he staying here?" "Yeah. I can't make sense of it either. He looks wealthy. Plus, the hotel we're in now only costs a few $100 a night." It was an ordinary hotel. It was so ordinary that the man didn't fit in at all. Could he have fallen on hard times? Sarah speculated and was already thinking, as a talent scout, that this person might be a great find. Maybe she could sign him and turn him into a superstar one day. "Harmony, let's have a chat with him." No way. I don't want to." Harmony's first thought was to refuse. She didn't know what was wrong with her because her heart would race whenever she laid her eyes on this man. She had seen countless handsome men and worked with them over the years, so she genuinely found her reaction utterly baffling. "Come on. Accompany me. I want to see if I can sign him on. With his looks and physique, it's a waste if he's not in showbiz." After that, Sarah tugged her along, fully ready to start persuading him. "Sarah. Isn't this inappropriate? What if he doesn't want to be disturbed?" Harmony tried to advise Sarah to think things through. Unfortunately, Sarah was determined to get her hands on someone with such outstanding looks. She opened the door and stepped out. Harmony had no choice but to watch Sarah pull off yet another sales pitch. Sarah didn't falter as she had a great deal of experience and encountered several people in her line of work. She stood at the door and knocked. Harmony's heartstrings tightened with each knock as she thought in despair, Sarah was going to make a fool of herself. That man would never agree to something like this. The moment the door swung open, Sarah had never been more certain of her decision to make him a star. Although she had met far too many people to count in her lifetime, she was determined to convince this man to enter show business. He was too perfect and too handsome. His looks surpassed every male artist she had ever seen. His demeanor was impeccable as well. Plus, he had a natural aristocratic aura that wasn't faked. It was innate. When he stepped into a room, he exuded a distinct aura of regal nobility. "Hi, sir. I'm from the room next door. Can we have a chat?" Ezekiel looked at Sarah as he rested his hands on the doorframe while peeking a glance at the neighboring room. He soon caught sight of Harmony's half-exposed head. When she noticed him looking, she quickly retreated into her shell like a terrified turtle. Then, Harmony heard a deep and magnetic voice say, "Sure. Can I come into your room?" "It's more convenient if I go to yours," Ezekiel replied. "Thank you for giving me this opportunity." "Please come in," Sarah said enthusiastically before opening her own door and inviting him in. Harmony sat awkwardly on the couch. She did not expect him to actually play along with Sarah. Sarah led him in. His tall figure made the hotel room even more cramped. Sarah gestured for him to sit on the couch, forcing Harmony to scoot aside in order to make some space for him. Sarah then sat on the edge of the bed and said, "Sir, let me introduce you. This is my artist, Harmony Mayo. I believe you two have met before." Ezekiel smiled and nodded. "Yes. We have." Harmony also smiled slightly. "Hello. What's your last name, sir? Can we get to know each other?" Sarah asked. "I'm Ezekiel Weiss," he said, casually introducing himself. "Mr. Weiss, may I ask about your current occupation?" Sarah felt a subtle triumph. The negotiation seemed to be going well. Ezekiel glanced at Harmony beside him and, on a whim, said, "I'm currently unemployed. Just wandering around." Harmony turned to him in surprise. "You're unemployed?" "Yeah, I'm jobless." Ezekiel nodded. "Mr. Weiss, here's the thing. I believe you possess exceptional qualities in various aspects. If you're interested, you can become my artist. I'll be willing to sign you at a generous price," Sarah proposed bluntly. "Sorry, I don't plan on becoming an artist." Ezekiel declined politely. Sarah was momentarily taken aback, not expecting this handsome man to reject the offer. However, she discerned a nuance. Ezekiel's gaze occasionally shifted toward Harmony. Could this gorgeous guy be interested in her artist? Sarah's sharp and incisive gaze seemed to penetrate through the layers of the situation. Even though this young man might be currently without a job, he had to hail from a wealthy background. His custom-tailored suit and high-end watch were far from ordinary. He appeared here despite affording a 7-star presidential suite in his home country. Sarah had instantly seen through the essence of the situation. It seemed Ezekiel wasn't here because he was down and out, but he was here to pursue Harmony. Even though Sarah was certain that was the case, she remained composed. "Well, that's a shame. No worries, I'm not interested in forcing someone to do my bidding. Harmony and I will attend Fashion Week tomorrow. Then, we'll be returning to Dansbury the day after tomorrow. Ezekiel raised an eyebrow in interest. You're leaving the day after tomorrow? Sarah remarked lightly, yes, most likely. At that juncture, Sarah was interrupted by a call from Harmony's assistant. She deliberately picked up the call and answered with feigned irritation, exclaiming, "Hello. What? Our artist's red carpet participation has been cancelled? How can you people be so incompetent? You can't even arrange a spot for us. What kind of operation are you running?" Sarah glared at her phone in anger before turning to Ezekiel. "Mr. Weiss, do you perhaps have the means to ensure Harmony graces the red carpet at Fashion Week?" The puzzled Harmony widened her beautiful eyes, wondering what Sarah was up to. Why was she seeking his help? Ezekiel didn't even hesitate as he answered, "I can make it happen." "That's great. Thank you so much," Sarah exclaimed with enthusiasm. "I'll be leaving Harmony in your care tomorrow. Please be her +1 on the red carpet." Ezekiel nodded. Even though he knew Sarah was using him, he didn't see the need to expose and refuse her. Instead, he anticipated tomorrow to be an intriguing day. "Well, we won't take up any more of your time, Mr. Weiss," Sarah said while swinging the door open. Ezekiel stood up, nodded, and made his exit. Once he left, Harmony seized the opportunity to inquire, "Sarah, what was all that about?" Sarah grasped her arm, a gleam of delight in her eyes. "Look, Mr. Weiss is no ordinary man. Although he claims to be unemployed, he has to be some rich young master with power and influence. Our red carpet event tomorrow is as good as secured with him by our side. We won't have to depend on others anymore." "How can you be so sure he's wealthy?" Harmony questioned sharply. "I could tell the minute I saw his attire," Sarah replied, a hint of pride in her voice. "We barely know him. Isn't it inappropriate to burden him like this?" Harmony was still hesitant. "We need to make the most of every resource if we want to achieve success in this industry. If there are connections we can use, we should never let it slip away. Forget about who he is or how well we know him. The only thing that matters is whether he is of use to us," Sarah asserted. Then, she inquired, "Nothing happened when you met him last time, right?" Harmony's mind whirred, recalling those 2 unexpected kisses. She hastily denied it. "No, nothing happened." Although Harmony's answer made it seem as though the two were strangers, Sarah was no fool. Instead, she was astute enough to understand that Ezekiel's appearance here was undoubtedly linked to Harmony.
Thank you for listening. If you have enjoyed this story, please like and share so others can see it too. Also hit the subscription button and notification bell so you can be notified on our next release. Thank you for your support. God bless you.